2.
And now for our feature presentation.
It's another edition of the Untitled Movie Show for Wednesday, June 24th, 2015. I'm, of course, your host, Mr. Miguel Leon. And we've got the cast and crew here. We've got Mr. Michael Burhan.
Hey, folks, it's me. I'm totally tired and worn out, so bear with me.
I was just going to say, put some effort in it, Burhan. Seriously.
I've been up since 3 a.m. Well, I was up since 3 a.m. and I've only managed to get like an hour's sleep, so yeah.
Well, we do appreciate you being on here in such short notice. Because honestly, like I said, I thought we were going to be back on next week, but you know, that was a mistake on my part.
It's
but,
cool. I love talking movies, so that's all good. It's one.
We've also got Mr. Lawn Boy's Post himself, Mr. Dave Wade.
Hello, I missed you, Miguel. My Wednesdays were empty without you.
Oh, I appreciate that. And we've also got Miss Annina Kasky.
Hello. It's good to be back.
All right. It's great to hear you back, guys. I was missing things. I was starting to get a little bit of a withdrawal there. I got the shakes.
When I miss things, I look down the back of the sofa behind the fridge. Did you try that?
Shut up. I don't have any response. Just shut up. All right. I love you, Dave. Anyway.
I'm not your friend, pal. I'm not your buddy guy.
I'm not your buddy guy, eh? Sorry.
Is that a local reference?
No, it's right. I'm just going to quickly say this, and I'll shut up and I'll get back into movie mode. But there's me and one bloke at work. Absolutely adore. And by the way, you know, South Park, you're missing a trick on this. Missing a trick on this, which is we just love all the Canadian episodes of South Park, and we just endlessly quote them. And they should release a box set of just all the Canadian episodes. It's Canada on strike. Fuck you, buddy, eh? So.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen South Park. It's probably been several seasons since I've seen it.
There's a scene where he goes, "I'm not your buddy, guy. I'm not your guy, eh? I'm not your friend, buddy. I'm not your buddy, friend." And
yeah,
they just go on for fucking hours.
He literally kept doing this. So because I found a picture that did the exact same thing, every time I introduce Dave now, I go into that whole thing. He's not your friend, pal. He's not your buddy, guy.
Screw you, eh, guy, buddy,
pal.
Well, South Park is very much defended by a lot of people, unlike today's topic, which is we are bringing back our Defended Bad Movie series. Yes. Yay! Last year, around the same time we did this whole series, me and Burhan did our episode together, and then this was right around the time Dave's... Burhan and I did our episode with... I can't believe I'm blanking out on his name. Rose-colored reviews. Fuck, why am I blanking out on his name? Burhan, you know who I'm talking about. Help me.
Travis Goss?
Travis.
Rarely hear you cuss.
So I'm just looking at these wrestling images that kind of depress me out.
Let's not talk wrestling.
Right,
yeah,
let's stay on topic, Burhan. Stay on topic.
Yeah, let's stay on topic, because I don't want to alienate Annina in this one. Let's leave this for Slamcast. That's Friday. Friday nights, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube.com/UnlimRadio. Anyway, tonight we're bringing back our Defended Bad Movie series. Now, like I said, Burhan and I, we did our episode with Travis Goss. We kind of lumped everything together, and that I'm sure once I get to uploading that episode, that's going to be...
Didn't Daxai do one as well?
What was that?
Dax, didn't he do an episode as well?
Yeah, Dax did one when he started being a part of the show. Dave did his episode, obviously, when we had the interview. I wasn't there that episode though, because I was working that Thursday, I believe. That was when we still did episodes on Thursday.
We spared you because it was too much of one episode to be heard by.
Too much awesomeness in one episode.
I just remember the sound quality being really bad, and I don't know why. I think somebody mic had fucked up, or the recording had, because
I think it was more due to Blog Talk at the time, because Blog Talk Radio was just not great.
Oh god, that's when we made the transition, wasn't it? Because Blog Talk Radio went from being a solid platform into a bucket full of shit biscuits.
Yeah, pretty much. And obviously Annina did hers when she came on, so it's kind of a tradition we do, but it's that time of year again, you know, the summer lull, so I figured why not bring it back. So tonight we're going to do my episode. The following week we'll be doing Burhan's episode. before he takes his sabbatical, and Dave will do his. So we're gonna
Can
go
I
through
just
that.
quickly say, by the way, Burhan, have you seen the shit that's going on in Calais right now? Be very careful when you leave this country. That's all I'm saying.
Not
And it's
really.
they got him already.
What do you mean?
Have you seen the shit that's going on in Calais right now? Just look it up. Trust me.
Oh, do you mean the fact that all the immigrants are using this like car accident to kind of?
No, not that. Just it's pretty much a riot zone. So I know that we're not talking about this. Sorry, Miguel, but just be very, because you're my friend and I care about you. Just be very careful when you hit the French shores. That's all I'm saying.
Well, all I'm saying is the UK is going to be even worse by the time all these changes go through.
Right. This is
Yeah,
not politics. I'm just saying, be careful, Burhan.
Okay, let's
Burhan will
continue.
be fine. He's a tough guy. I mean, he's a former bouncer, right? Weren't you a bouncer at one point?
I was bouncer, former pro wrestler, and MMA fighter.
Yeah, so you're fine. I have no qualms.
Plus,
about,
I have
about
heavy
Burhan.
equipment that I can bludgeon people to death with.
and he'll use it too.
Yeah, but
I
the
will.
French have guns.
I'll be like, super play, bang, skull
Contact
cracked.
without a
I think
criminal
sorry,
record,
Burhan. I
please.
think you mean situ play.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Dave. Dave wants me to correct you. Situ play, bludgeons.
All right, so tonight I've got my 5 movies that I feel get a bum rap. I don't think these movies get the credit that they deserve.
Just to tease us, Miguel, give us the years that they're from so we can guess.
Okay, mid 2000s, 2004, 1995, 1996, and 2001.
Ooh, I wonder what the 90s ones are.
That's
There's some
exactly
good
what I was gonna
gems in the
say.
90s.
I'm
All right.
I just care about the 90s.
Well, then let's start off with the 90s, because let's start off with the first one. I think this one, more than the other ones on my list, gets too much of a bum rap. I grew up when this movie was huge, and I think more recently with this new generation, too many people are kind of jumping on the bandwagon, and I also think it's director backlash against this one. My first pick is going to be 1996's Independence Day, a movie that...
Yeah, me
The thing
too.
is, with Independence Day, if it came out now, I would hate it.
Yes.
Because I was about 7 when I saw it, I like
Yeah.
it. Well, that's
Yeah,
the only reason. Only reason.
Kick the
I was...
tires and light the fires. Sorry.
Here's
If
the
it
thing.
came out now, I'd be like, this is a pile of shit.
Yeah,
But
I
nostalgia saves it. That's the only thing that saves it.
yeah, here's the thing. I was too young to appreciate movies like T2 and Jurassic Park in the theaters, so I probably did see them, but I was like an infant when they were out. Independence Day was the first theater experience that I remember. It was one of the first. It was one of the oldest movies that I can
How old
remember.
were you?
In 1996, I may have been 7, I believe, 6 or 7. I don't remember. I'd have to see. 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. I would have been 8.
I like the fact you had to back count your own age. Sorry.
Yeah, on my fingers, by the way. So yeah, I was 8 when Independence Day came out.
See,
I
I'm
remember.
English, we do it on an abacus.
I could just hear the beads in the background. But yeah,
and I think Will Smith saves this film as well. If it was someone else being the lead, wouldn't be.
What's his name? The bloke who fucking actually kills the aliens at the end. I can't think of the
Oh,
You've
the
got
crazy one.
you've got a combination of leads in this movie, in my opinion, that do their
Jeff
job.
Goldblum gets a thumbs
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, Goldblum plays Goldblum.
I'm gonna. Oh, sorry, my minion went off again. That's kind of creeping me
You
out.
got the guy who plays his father in there as well.
Judd Hirsch.
Yeah, Judge Hurst, that's it. He plays his rather Jewish father.
Oh, he does that brilliant line, doesn't he? When he goes like, "What you think they took $50,000 for a toilet seat? $20,000 for a
Here's the
hammer?"
thing. I get, in hindsight, I get some of the criticisms people give it, and Judd Hirsch is the biggest one. How he plays like, I mean, he's kind of. He's basically playing a Jewish stereotype, and I get why people are kind of annoyed by that.
But Jewish people always play Jewish stereotypes. It's only to now
That's
where
Hollywood,
someone
though,
can
isn't
sit there
it?
and go, well, I'm Jewish, but I'm a
Yeah, I think-
westernized Jew, and my dad plays the Jewish
They, were,
stereotype.
they didn't come out before because they were too scared of Mel Gibson.
Yeah, I think the only person in Hollywood that the only performance I could think of that was maybe more Jewy than Judd Hirsch in Independence Day is Laurence Olivier in The Jazz Singer. That's a Jewy character.
But it is what it is.
Sorry,
It's
hang on,
not.
Bern. That's the greatest descriptive term I've ever heard in my life. That's a Jewy character right now.
Have you seen Laurence Olivier in the
Yeah,
Jazz
I
Singer?
have. Yeah, you're right.
I just don't. For me, I don't get why people are so like critical of that.
I do. It's two parts. It's director backlash from the works of Roland Emmerich. Because keep in mind, up until that point, Roland Emmerich
Isn't
had
he the
only
bloke who
done.
did Basic Instinct.
No, that's Paul Verhoeven.
I
Roland
get
Emmerich
confused.
up until
Oh no,
this.
he did Total Recall, didn't he?
Yeah, no, Verhoeven did that as well. Roland Emmerich, up until this point, had done Universal Soldier and Stargate. He hadn't done the Godzilla remake. He hadn't done Day After Tomorrow. He hadn't done 2012. So Independence Day was kind of the first of the.
So he was still credible at this point.
Yeah, he was very much credible at this point.
It's first of the basically event movies that he tends to do.
Yeah, and a lot of his style of writing was new at the time, because one of the big criticisms people give Emmerich, and at one point I do want to do an Emmerich retrospective, so I'll have to go back and
yes.
we do that might be one of the first director retrospectives we do after we do our Defending Bad Movies series. But the thing about Emmerich in his event movies is he tends to use shorthand when it comes to his characters. He tends to pull at the heartstrings or use stereotypes to characterize his characters.
That's
Because
a really good analogy, actually, Miguel. That's a really
because
good
he puts
analogy.
so many characters into the movies, it's hard to really give background and real, emotional investment in these characters. So he tends to use stereotypes, or he tends to use symbolism, and it's very much prevalent in the case of Independence Day. But keep in mind, this was new. He hadn't really burned out that writing style. And I think one of the reasons why this movie has stuck with so many people is, at the time, it very much was a technical wonder. I mean, no one had done grand scale destruction on that level. Yeah, we had Twister
The
before that.
White House scene is infamous now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of the most. It was one of the most played special effects moments of the '90s. I think it's right up there.
I
with
remember before this movie came out, and the utter hype was, I remember being downtown when Virgin Megastore still existed and seeing the magazine, picking up and looking at this and going like, oh, what's this movie Independence Day? They'll make nothing of that. And then 2 months later, walking into Forbidden Planet, and the entire store was coated with Independence Day toys. And you just went, ooh, something's coming.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and I think a lot of the new generation forgets that. I have vivid memories of this movie. Over here in the States, I don't know if they did it over in the UK, but the Fox network every year for 4th of July would play this movie.
This
Even when
movie was an event movie over here in the UK as well. I think we got it at Thanksgiving. We had.
Oh, it was a Thanksgiving movie for you guys? Okay.
Yeah, it's like when you guys were celebrating.
Not really, burhan, because we don't celebrate that.
No, but when they were celebrating Thanksgiving, it was basically that movie, if that makes sense. On that time period, they would have it. It was kind of like them showing Star Wars on Christmas.
Yeah. There is a line in the movie, though, that does make my head, not my heckles, like the hair on the back of my neck stand up, even though...
Oh, I wonder if it's the same one as mine. There's one line for me as well that makes it go...
When Bill Pullman does, and you got to remember, Bill Pullman at this point he was firing out of the park.
Yeah, he was box office fucking gem,
We're talking, what was it, Casper? While You Were Sleeping, he was just on fire. But when he goes, today we celebrate our new holiday. And he talks about Independence Day.
We celebrate our Independence Day.
Yeah.
But it's a world holiday. And it's like, it's brilliant. It makes, and that's clever marketing towards, the audience around the world. But it's brilliant. The only thing I dislike about this movie, even though it's cheesy...
It's Americana. It's totally Americana.
The one bit I don't like is the two English blokes you see in it, which is apparently a bunch of English blokes have hidden their squadron around the corner. At the end of the movie, when they need people to attack the motherships, and just goes, those bloody Yanks have got a plan. Like, really? Are we that?
It goes back
Yeah, straight from the 1950s.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said, is Emmerich tends to dip into stereotypes too much with his characters. That's a good example, obviously, Judd Hirsch. A lot of people point to Vivica A. Fox's character, how she's the single black mother stereotype in there. That's also
that isn't an issue. That, to me,
the only stripper who doesn't take her clothes off.
Yeah, to me that isn't.
You do get to see her ass in there, which is a positive for me.
To me, that isn't an issue. You've got Will Smith playing Will Smith, and everyone saying, "Oh my God, he was amazing in the movie," and most of his liners were like, I'm gonna get you, motherfucker. Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's Will Smith's.
Now
Shoot
you
to
did it.
jive.
Yeah.
Nah, his greatest line in this movie is when he punches the alien in the face and he just goes,
Yeah.
"Welcome to Earth."
Yeah, I like that bit where he punches him in the face. That's
It's
enjoyable.
he pretty much this created his career. I mean, yeah, up until
Isn't
this
the
point.
bloke who played Data in Next Generation in this movie?
Yep. He's also
Who's
in there as
he?
well.
Yeah, Brett Spiner. He's basically the one that the alien penetrates.
Oh, because I love.
Yeah, and he didn't even buy dinner first. How rude!
I know. Do you know what I mean? I was like, come on, man. Just if you're
You
gonna
know
if
the
you're gonna
line that
probe
makes me
someone, do it right.
That bit's really creepy though. The fact that he's making him, the alien's making him talk. Sorry, spoilers,
Yeah.
but you haven't seen this movie, then you're dead to me. The fact that the alien's got his tentacles around his neck and he's basically manipulating his vocal cords. That's
Yeah, it was actually a creepy alien, which gets points. Really does get points. But you know what just makes me throw up a bit in my mouth.
Which
one line
one?
in this film. When I cannot remember his name. The drunk guy who flies the spaceship
Randy
Quaid.
Yeah, his
Ugh.
line when he flies into it.
in
It's
the
just
words of our
so
generation, up yours.
He plays random
he's
Texan,
so
doesn't he?
patriotic, and I just can't.
Yeah, it's random Texan, a Texan patriot. I think when they found him, he was like
And
sitting.
afterwards, everyone's like, "He's such a hero," and I'm just like, ugh.
I like the fact though when
He's basically George Bush.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he is. Shut up, Minion! You're scaring me right now.
He literally is
That's
just
the
George
thing that
Bush.
grates so much to me. Otherwise, I do really enjoy this film, even though
I think that's why
script-wise,
people have.
it's not great. It's not a great script.
But it's
I
not
watched
supposed to be. It's
I know,
basically.
it's
Great movie. I stand with Miguel on this. It's not and Union, which is it's not a great script. It's by no means thespian and going to win awards, but it is.
It's full of
A great
stereotypes and cliches, and I always say it this way.
really enjoyable.
Yeah, if you basically defend The Room, then you have no right to talk shit about this movie.
I have one thing observation that I would like to say about this movie. That's going to make me sound really stupid. But when Bill Pullman, as the president, walks around and he pulls the sports section out of the paper and gives it to his Secret Service guy, and just goes, "Hell of a game." I'm just like, oh, the president, he likes sports. He's just like us.
Isn't that what Obama does? Like
No,
when
Obama just walks
Oh,
around. looking in
look,
the mirror
he
and
hates
sounds
Kanye West. He's just like us.
Isn't
Well-
Kanye at Glastonbury this year? Dear God.
I'll say this about Independence Day. Yes, it's a cheesy script, but the performances put over the cheesy script. Like,
Yeah.
they
The
don't.
special effects still hold up.
This
Oh,
is
yeah.
the thing
Yeah,
as well.
they do.
It's a testament to how good the actors are, that the fact they make the cheesy script believable. That's a rarity in most movies,
And
because
isn't
if
the
you have
president's wife the bird who ends up in Battlestar Galactica?
yeah, and if you have like a bad script sometimes as well, you find that if the direction's bad or the script's bad, so most of the time you have the bad movies, because the actors who play these characters, again, I'm pointing to you, 50 Shades of Grey, have no idea how to actually and how to deliver these lines.
Shades of Spank.
No, it's how to kind of deliver the lines and bring the character together. In this movie, you have these characters that are very full on. They're like up the levels of these characters. They're very cartoony, very fun, but they're believable because all these
And they work as an
stereotypes.
ensemble.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And they make the cheesy, shitty script work really well, to the point where you don't sit there in disbelief. You sit there and go, actually, I kind of understand that. I understand what they're doing.
Yeah, it's the difference between Independence Day and The Day After Tomorrow, which is my least favorite Emmerich film, because it actually tried to be serious. It was taking the poor script and actually trying to make a message movie about global warming, and I really despise that movie a lot.
Which doesn't exist,
Yeah, that's
by the
not a
way.
good film, is it? It's just falls
It's-
flat.
Yeah, it does fall flat. But I'll say this about Independence Day. I also want to blame one specific person who, I don't know if he started the hatred against Independence Day, but I do notice that once he reviewed Independence Day, there was a whole generation of people kind of going against it. And Burhan knows exactly who I'm going to point out. Doug
Sheep
Walker.
mentality, yeah.
As soon as Doug Walker reviewed Independence Day and criticized it, I started to notice a lot of people falling in line with that and kind of parodying his voice. And it didn't also help that the Nostalgia Chick kind of also expanded upon that when she reviewed it. Really, Channel Awesome kind of is the reason, in my opinion, why there's a big backlash against that movie.
It's terrible because it's. I mean, I don't watch him anymore, but I did like him, and I have his autograph. That sounds really bad, but it's just they parodied it brilliantly in Family Guy, which is that person's famous and he says stuff, so therefore that's my opinion. It's like, really, watch it for yourselves, people, and make your own determined opinion of it. You know, I agree with you, Miguel. It's not a perfect movie. It's, you know, and it's summer fair, and I think we all walk into summer fair with a different mindset than we would to watching other movies. But in fact, I disagree with you, Miguel. I don't think it's a bad movie.
No,
and
I think
I don't
it's a
think you
good
need
movie.
to defend it.
I think it's a bad movie, but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
Because
it's
I would class it as a bad film, but something about it I like.
it's a B movie on an A budget is basically what I'm willing to say, and I think that's a great example of it.
Although when I saw it at the cinema, apparently the bloke on the left of me was an RAF pilot. I've never forgot this. And the bit when Will Smith is flying away from the alien, he's banking in his F-18 and shit like that. The bloke next to me just went, "That's impossible. The G-force would kill you." I just remember looking at him, just thinking, "It's a summer blockbuster movie, you fucking moron." But I'm not actually going to voice this to you, because if you are military, you're probably going to be able to snap my neck in 2 seconds.
If the G-forces didn't kill him, the alien would have. Because aliens really don't exist.
Unfortunately, to this.
Yeah, I try not to acknowledge that. And I think
every time I have a cigar, though, this is true, and I have them very, very rarely. We're talking like 2 years apart, but every time I have a cigar, I always say, "Light the fires and kick the tires."
It's our victory dance, but not until the fat lady sings.
That's why he died, because he broke his cigar out too soon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but wow, maybe that might have been Emmerich foreshadowing. I actually got to give Emmerich that, because I didn't pick up on that.
Oh my God! I've just had an epiphany. I'm telling you, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
did
why
like
he
his
died.
secret.
Because he broke his cigar. People, right? If you're in the armed forces, I would just like to say thank you for serving your country and us. But from now on in, I'm going to give you a piece of amazing advice. If someone hands you a cigar in that weird test tube shaped thing you get, save it for your victory dance, because the minute you break it out too early, you'll be the bloke in a red shirt from Star Trek. You're welcome.
And with that, let's move on to the next bit let's move on to the next film, because I actually jumped the gun on this one. I was going to go chronologically, but I forgot that this movie that I'm about to mention actually takes place in '95 and not 96. So this next film on my list, I for the longest time liked, and I still do. And I know there's a better version of this movie currently.
Whoa, hang on. For the longest time liked, but still do. I feel there's some animosity there.
I have problems with it, but that's mostly a production issue, and I'll get into that in a second as to why it ended up being what it was. I still like the movie as a movie, but the production stories behind this kind of bug me, as somebody who does appreciate the production. But I think if you aren't a fanboy of the material, you may enjoy this movie, and that is 1995's Judge Dredd. I think if you...
Oh, burn! Sorry. Oh my God.
Haven't seen it. Have to say, haven't seen it.
It's based off of obviously Judge Dredd, the 2000 AD character, and if you're not a fan of, if you know nothing about 2000 AD or the Judge Dredd character like I did, I didn't know anything about Judge Dredd until
British comics since 1977.
Yeah, and I didn't know much about it until maybe the early 2000s at best. I always thought it was just an independent character, like something that just was made for the
short-released, failed version that DC Comics tried to do.
Yeah, and
around about the same time as the movie, actually.
If you just look at it as a mid-90s action movie, it's one of the better fares. Like, it's got a better quality than most people would give it credit. I think too many people...
It looks absolutely shit hot.
What movie is this?
95 Judge Dredd.
The thing is, I don't mind it, but I think it's more glitz, less glamour. If it was Stallone...
not Dredd, it's Die Hard with a cop in the future.
The way I always put it was, I think Demolition Man was more Dredd than Judge Dredd. And the fact with Stallone, I felt that because he had the budget, because he had kind of like the relationships going on. It's kind of like, hey bud, do you mind if I basically, design? Do you mind if I design the costumes? So he got freaking, what was it? It was Armani to design the suits.
Yes, and they were fucking.
Yeah, it's like it's supposed to be a desolate freaking Earth, but yet everyone's wearing Armani. That kind of doesn't help. Secondly, I think the biggest issue with it was the fact that he took his helmet off.
Yes, exactly.
And
Here's
thirdly,
the thing,
yeah, go on.
The thing though is, I'm not a fan of 2000 AD. Like, I don't hate it, but I've never
I
seen
hate
it.
you,
I don't
Miguel.
know.
I hate
No,
you.
I
grew up
do.
on that comic.
It's very
Oh, no,
English.
no,
It's very
I get it.
English.
It's very English. I've
Yeah.
never read it.
Yeah,
So,
but
It's like-
the irony is it's very English, but Judge
It's like
Dredd is
not being a
American.
fan of the Doctor until you've watched the Doctor.
yeah,
know.
it's
Yeah.
like
Simple.
you get a better appreciation.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I first saw Judge Dredd, I knew nothing of the character. So I just took it as an action movie, and
Yeah,
as
definitely.
an action movie, I like the art style. It's very much it very much cribs from Blade Runner, obviously, but it's got a great look to it. I mean, Stallone's on his A game as far as action is concerned. I think this was at his peak as far as his ability to be the leading man in an action movie.
Yeah.
I did have some problems with Rob Schneider, but I think
He was
liked
actually,
it.
I felt, and this is the one credit I'm going to give to Rob Schneider in his entire career. This was the first time he actually held a movie together,
Yeah.
being the foil, basically. He's kind of
when he has that emotional section with Dredd about Dredd being accused of being guilty when he's not, and he goes, "There you go. That's what you did to me, Mister. I am the law."
Yeah, he comes out of here with a lot more dignity than he did doing Deuce Bigelow. Let's
What's
just say that.
what's the line? At the
doing
start,
any
which
Rob
is,
Schneider movie.
goes,
He
"You
came
could
out of
have,
here with a lot
you-
of dignity.
You broke up a food droid. That's illegal." He goes, "But they were blokes with guns. What do you want me to do? Jump out the window and fall to my death?"
Maybe, but
And he
it's
goes
legal.
like, "Yeah, maybe, but it's legal."
This is
Yeah.
the thing. I think, like in terms of the best, Dave, elephant in the room. In terms of character development, I felt Schneider's character and Stallone's character had the most development in there. Most people were just
This
names.
is probably the deepest, most emotional I've ever seen Schneider.
Yeah,
in a
and
movie
it reminded me that from that section, it reminded me a lot of a buddy cop movie. So
Yeah.
it's like you had Stallone's character who's supposed to be the straight guy, you had Schneider's character who's supposed to be the comic relief, and
Well,
it
that's-
was
By the way, the ABC robot Hammerstein, he's based on Hammerstein from ABC Warriors.
yeah, he is.
He was a really fully realized working robot that ran on compressed air. Amazing.
I mean, the movie had a pretty solid budget. Like I said, I
It did.
don't hate the production in this movie. I
Mean
really
No,
liked
the-
Machine Angels.
It looks lovely. It looks
Yeah.
pleasing to the eye. In terms of like the storytelling and the characters, if it was named anything else, it could have got away
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. If you don't know anything about Judge Dredd, you might enjoy this movie. I think too
Well,
many
I
people.
thought it was a bold decision for an American studio to buy the rights to Judge Dredd and make a movie, because I'm pretty sure that Judge Dredd is just like the preserve of English comic book fans, because
Well, it was originally going to be an independent movie. What happened was the studio, the producer of RoboCop, RoboCop started out as a Judge Dredd movie, and they had trouble selling it as a Judge Dredd movie, so they just decided, not to use the property, and that's how we got RoboCop, because
Yeah.
he was able to make it out. He was able to sell it better.
But I think
Here's the-
I think Dredd
I
would have
didn't know
worked
that. Interesting.
as that style of movie. It would have worked a lot better as that style. The issue that came up in
Don't
terms,
take your helmet off. You put too much emotion into being Dredd.
not just that it was more the way that people had a problem with it, and I have an issue with this, is
Diane Lane,
Stallone.
Stay mad at you because I love you.
It's not that Stallone was doing this. I think the Family Guy sketch that they do when they talk about Julia Roberts, where she goes me. That's
Yeah.
what Stallone was. It was like, look at me, I'm Sylvester Stallone, I'm a box office draw, fuck you.
Well, he outright the director Danny Cannon outright said as he didn't want Stallone on there because he knew Stallone would take over the project.
He didn't
And
just
that's
take
exactly
over it,
what
he
happened.
urinated on it. And
No, he basically. Here's the thing: Stallone didn't get Judge Dredd. he didn't understand the character, so what he did is he completely rewrote the script. Because
Which he
yeah.
tends to do with everything he's in.
yeah, if you sign Stallone to a project, you always have to deal with that because he always has it in his contract. Is he gets a say on the actual screenplay. So he didn't understand the character of Judge Dredd, so that's why he wrote it like basically, as Burhan said, a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
He wrote it as an action movie. An action
Die
movie.
Hard 2050.
It was literally just that. It was kind of the way I would call it, budget Die Hard, because no one.
He's done that because there's dysfunctional things in it, and you can see the original script bleeding through. Which is, if you look at Mean Machine Angel, and this is one of the few times I will say this, which is Mean Machine Angel is on screen the perfect, no changes, no like adopting it to cinema, the perfect adoption of the character from the comic books.
Yeah.
So obviously there was that behind the scenes, and now it makes sense that Miguel says that.
It had a great effects budget. You could tell the effects and like the cinematography were excellent. The problem is, I think, and I've said it when I reviewed the movie originally for Movie File, Stallone. The thing about Stallone is he can either help your movie or hurt it. 9 times out of 10,
Dredd videos, though.
9 times out of 10, Stallone will hurt your movie, and one of the reasons, as Miguel's pointed out, is if he doesn't understand the character and he turns it into a Stallone vehicle.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where he'll just do tons of damage. The movie made bank in the box office, I believe.
Did it?
Yeah, it did.
It did.
Look at that. What was its budget, and what did it take in return?
Let me look that up real quick.
But while he's looking that up, it
$70 million budget, made back $113 million.
yeah, so
That's
it made
quite cheap, actually.
it made bank, but the issue being with it was the fact that it got so many bad reviews that they just dropped it afterwards. They were like, it's not worth making a sequel.
I was being a massive Judge Dredd fan, and growing up in 2000 AD, I was super psyched with it, and I took my girlfriend of the time to it, to the cinema, and just, well, you gotta see this, and we walked out, and I just remember thinking, I enjoyed, like you said, but I enjoyed it, but not as a Judge Dredd movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Susie. I guess we're not having sex tonight, are we?
Well, basically, it's not as bad as, say, like a movie like Prince of Persia that Disney did.
Oh,
where,
Christ! Oh, just
AKA the high budget EastEnders, set in Arabia for some reason.
Which is ironic, since I believe Disney has the rights to this movie, because I think they just put out a Blu-ray of Judge Dredd, because I think it was produced by Hollywood Pictures, which later got bought up by Disney.
Buena Vista.
Because I have a really
Disney
interesting story that the 2000 AD comic actually talks about, which is there's a scene that's missing from the US version to the UK version that was never supposed to be missing, but when they flew the tapes or the reel or whatever across the sea from the States to the UK, apparently this scene fell out. And the bit when all the clones pop up at the end?
Yeah,
and
the gooey
Dredd,
clones.
Yeah. Judge Dredd pops them all off. In the UK, we don't get that scene. We get the clones popping up, and then it cuts immediately to the explosion and Dredd running away. And 2000 AD, the comic, was so upset with this, they actually made a point of saying, because they were promoting the movie, which is, yeah, that's nothing to do with us. We don't know why this happened. It wasn't a censorship thing. Apparently that scene just got lost. So that's why I need to buy it. And now you say that, Miguel, now it's on Blu-ray. Has it got any special features?
I have no idea. I haven't actually seen it. I'm just reading a quote from Stallone on his views of the film.
Yeah, he calls it Hamlet and Eggs.
Hamlet and Eggs.
Hamlet and Eggs. He goes, "You expecting Hamlet, but I call this more Hamlet and Eggs." People didn't. He basically, right in a roundabout way, says that people didn't understand his vision.
Yeah, because it wasn't fucking Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
there's one thing I can say, right, which is with people like Stallone, which is, I like you, Stallone, I do, but there's one core audience market that you should not alienate, and that's the comic book market, because we completely appreciate and are, nerdy about the vision of our characters. But second of all, combine that with being English, and you just made an enemy, my
I
friend.
remember the original creators of 2000 AD actually went on record and talked about this as well, including like Dredd's original artist and creator.
Carlos Esquera.
Yeah, he came out and said, if I remember straight, he went out and said that the movie was a piece of shit, and he was like, "This movie is anything, it is not Judge Dredd."
Yeah, and he had to do the one-shot graphic novel depiction of the movie, and he said a few years later when people said like, "You said this movie was shit, why'd you do it?" And he said,
Money.
"It's contractually obliged.
Yeah.
They want to be sued."
Well, no offense, if you create a property and then someone else bastardizes it for the right money,
It pissed
I
off
think
the American studios because when he drew the one-shot adaptation of the movie, he drew Judge Dredd's costume in the original format of the comic as opposed to the movie.
yeah.
As his kind of little,
But this was at the time when the marketing department was handling everything.
Yeah, I do want to bring up two bits of information, two things before we move on. One, I think most of the budget went to the sets because Armando Santos basically chewed up half of them.
Yeah.
He's amazing in the movie.
He's
I love
amazing. The bit
I
at
love
the
a
prison
big,
at the end when he
cheesy
shoots
act,
the bloke's throat out is absolutely fantastic.
I adore big cheesy mustache twirling villains, and he is just awesome.
That's
He's
actually
one
quite accurate to the comic, by the way. He's the only thing in this movie that's accurate to the comic. Rico, the other clone of the original Judge that became Dredd, Enrico. His character is actually probably the most accurate thing in this movie of 2000 AD lore, Judge Dredd.
And I also want to bring up, obviously, the reboot from 2009, just called Dredd, which I love. I think that's a great.
I fucking adore that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I think though, because that movie exists, it kind of throws more dirt onto this Judge Dredd movie. I think both of them can exist. They're both two different.
Yeah.
As I said,
two different adaptations of the same material. You can like one and the other. You don't have to choose.
Well, as I said, if it was named anything else, I think this movie would have got a hell of a lot more of a pass than it
should
had.
have just been called Shiny, Fantastic Future Cop Stallone.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's basically what Stallone did was he took a book that if this book was the Bible and he did that to Jesus, you'd have a bunch of Christians getting really pissy with him.
No, he would.
He'll be like, Christ is back, and he's got like loads of like machine guns and stuff. It's like, I'm not your friend, pal. I'm not your buddy guy. And he's Canadian.
No, Burhan, what you mean to say is, I'm not your friend, Judas. Sorry.
I was wondering where Annina went. I'm glad you're here. Yeah.
I haven't seen this film, so I really can't make a.
If you haven't seen this film, Annina, I will drop you a copy before I leave on my journey. I'll drop you a copy of this film. Because I have it on DVD twice, because I have it in my personal collection, and I have it in my dad's collection.
I'm sure my boyfriend will be happy. I know he loves this film. He loves the original.
As I said, it's cheese. It's literally, so much cheese.
High tolerance for cheese when it comes to films.
Wait, has he seen the new one that I personally consider perfectly Dredd?
Yes, he loved that as well.
Good man, just checking. Sorry. Carry on, Nina.
Yeah, go on, Miguel.
Carry on.
All right.
Approve of my spouse.
Let's hop forward to 2001. This series really, as far as purists of the genre, is not well liked by most people. And the third one in this franchise, a lot of people don't like. Give us a hint
so we can guess, because you're in 2001.
2001. This is the end of a trilogy, we'll say.
Jurassic Park 3.
No, that was actually
2001.
That was actually 2003.
2001.
I think this is actually, and we did a retrospective of this series, and the reason I bring it up is no, not Return of the King. The reason why I bring this up in this episode is because Burhan wasn't on the episode. Obviously, you weren't, and this was pre-Dave, so I figured this would be.
I like that. We've got biblical. Shut up, Minion! You're scaring me.
This is pre-Dave, and it's essentially I like it because it does things different than the other movies, and that's 2001 Scream 3.
You know what? I've been being a fan.
Scream films, they should burn and die.
The thing is, being a fan of the Scream trilogy, of the original trilogy, I enjoyed them. I just felt when they tried to bring it back, that's when they kind of killed any stigma this thing had.
No, I'm not talking about 4. I'm talking about 3. The third one in the series.
Yeah, it was very hit and miss. Because I remember I got a copy of it from the United States when importing from the States was legal here before they changed the laws. And because I used to
I
get,
may have bought it off a bloke at the market. Sorry,
but I got a copy of it and I enjoyed it. I felt it did what it was supposed to do. It gave the series closure. It wasn't amazing.
And then they ruined it when they brought it back.
And they kind of built on the characters a bit more. You saw where Nev Campbell's character was. You saw.
Oh, Nev Campbell, I love thee.
You saw the relationship between Courtney Cox and David Arquette's characters. And it was, and they kind of went full circle. Everybody came face to face with the guy who was the original killer, who was the original one who set everything in motion from the first movie so that they could give it closure and it could end the series on, I wouldn't say a high note, but it ended it effectively.
There was closure. Yeah. It tied off all the loose ends.
Yeah, definitely.
Just explain to me why you like the Scream films, because I can't see anything about them I like. And I like horror films, but I hate Scream.
It parodied the horror.
Of all the cliches that
I think it doesn't parody it at all. It just goes, this is what films do, and we're now doing it again. I don't see it as parody.
It takes a look at the tropes. It highlights the tropes.
With them.
Yeah, it highlights the tropes and it also brings about these characters.
It doesn't do it in an intelligent enough way for me.
No,
it just goes.
I don't know why I'm talking really high like this. Apparently I sat on my balls.
I don't know either, because I don't.
There is some level. I'm not saying it's massively intelligent, but I think there's some level of observation about what sucks people into horror movies.
I'm sorry, observation isn't someone listing the people who have sex first die first. That's not observation.
It plays on.
But that's the law.
It plays on the tropes that horror movies.
Yes, but badly.
Not necessarily. You know what? I think the problem is with the Scream movies,
I can never have sex
again. Is that the Wayans brothers then parodied the parody, and it kind of killed any stigma that these movies had.
Do you know what? I agree with you, Burhan. They cheapened it, and I
just don't see it. I don't see it as a parody. Movie. They just list them. They literally go, "Here's a list of tropes. Look, we've now done all the lists. Movie ends. And we got some bad actors as well."
No, the acting. Don't get me wrong. The acting was bad, but it wasn't. It was passable, and the reason being is, it was passable because it's supposed to be a B movie. Yes. It's not supposed to be an amazing.
It looks too shiny
well, yeah, it's Craven, isn't it? It's Craven, and he said that it was never supposed to be, like.
It was basically Craven putting the knife into the genre that he helped facilitate, because I think by that point he was just tired of horror movies, and then
proved he had a sense of humor.
And it's everyone copying and pasting the same thing again and again. Well, he highlighted that, and he also highlighted the fact that kids were going out there and using like horror movies as a defense. Horror movies at the time was kind of the video game.
I caved this person's head in. Why? Well, I've seen horror movies.
Exactly. It was kind of them using horror movies like the video game defense in trials. I played Halo. That's the reason why I shot my dad in the face.
Well, here's the thing about Scream 3, because even fans of Scream don't like Scream 3. I
really, really enjoyed it. I'm just saying.
Well, here's the thing. As far as what Annina said, I think her big issue is it doesn't so much do anything creative with the genre other than it lampshades it, basically.
Yeah.
It just goes, look at it.
It's a parody of its own self.
But it's not a parody. Parodies change it and morph it, and they just don't go, here's a list. And I'm sorry, they list them. They go, 1, this is what happens. 2, this is... It's just...
Sound like the Count.
I'd nothing more interesting than watching Scream, and there's nothing.
1 parody.
But the fact that I didn't see it as a parody shows that it's not a good parody. You know what I mean?
But
it can be seen as a very bad horror film.
It's not necessarily a tongue-in-cheek parody, but it's there riding on its own coattails.
Yeah.
Literally, there's a guy who lists stuff. There's a villain who's not scary. There's a villain who's not scary. It's just acting horrendous.
It tried to be subversive, and it didn't
every
go
horror
far enough.
movie though, Annina.
I don't think it did what it was supposed to do, and that's the big problem with it. It didn't do what it was supposed to do. Fair enough, some people love it.
Suffers, going back to what Burhan said, because of the Scary Movie franchise. Because I know there's one scene in Scary Movie that completely kills the Scream movies for me, which is when the bloke's calling her on the phone. He's like, "I'm in your house," and she's like, "No, I know you are. I can see you. Your legs are sticking out from behind the curtain." And it's just, and so I think that lessens some of it. I know what you're saying, Annina. It's not.
It just doesn't work for me.
It's a popcorn movie, but
it's not even that. Popcorn movie isn't a bad thing, but this just, if it tried to parody something, it didn't work.
Although we can go back to the other movie, which is Scary Movie. I love the bit when Carmen Electra gets she's making popcorn. The bloke runs into her house and then stabs her, pulls his knife out, and her breast implants on it. So
yeah, it's, as I said, it's one of those where they take shots, but the problem is when it got to 3, it was the same thing again. You could literally see the same things happening.
No, actually.
No, it is. But
no,
to some degree, there are expansions upon the characters, and it rounds it off really
No, but that's what I'm saying. But in terms of the way that the story is highlighted, it kind of does it again and again.
Not really, and that's one of the big criticisms people have for 3 is the fact that it is so different in tone from the other 2. And a lot of that I can give to the writer for it, because this Scream 3 was not written by the original writer of the first 2.
Which was Craven, wasn't it?
No. Kevin Williamson, who wrote Dawson's Creek, actually. He wrote Scream 1 and 2.
To a life to be over. Sorry, Dawson's Creek.
What happened was, at the time, Williamson was doing his first directorial effort. I don't know if you guys have heard of the movie Teaching Miss Tingle. That was his first directorial movie, and it coincided with Scream 3, and they couldn't get him back for it, so they got Aaron Kruger to write this one. Aaron Kruger is the guy who's now writing the Transformers movies. So you can this was one of his first efforts, though. This was pre-Transformers, and he went more the Hollywood route, which I appreciate. I like the fact that they took the idea of the movie within the movie that 2 kind of did, and expanded upon it. You know, this was very much poking fun at Hollywood in a sense, and I kind of like that. You know, I admit the movie's a lot.
Well, yeah, it's poking fun at their paymasters, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I really like that. I like the fact that they focused more on David Arquette and Courtney Cox, because the second movie really didn't, except for that really good scene when they're kind of being chased by the killer in the actual school building. I thought that scene was good in the second one, but this one, it makes David Arquette more of the action lead. It kind of diminishes Courtney Cox in that the fact that she's kind of become the damsel in distress.
Only a good thing, may I add. Sorry.
No,
I found those 2 characters the most annoying in all of the films. Was David Arquette and Courtney Cox.
Well, I don't know about Courtney Cox, even though Courtney Cox called me, I'd love to have sex with you. But isn't that the whole point about David Arquette's character? Is he's supposed to be that annoying factor, though?
He was the bumbling idiot in the first and second movie. In this one, they kind of made him more a competent action lead, and I was okay with that because I felt it was a progression. You know, this was several years removed from those movies. I just took it as like, okay, this is him kind of maturing. You know, this is his coming out party of sorts. You know, and I kind of felt that, you know, Courtney Cox being the damsel in distress was kind of playing into their kind of relationship budding more, and him kind of having to be her hero of sense. So I was okay with that. I like the fact that this one did something different from the second one. I actually don't like the second one because I felt it's just a rehash.
I think the second one is just basically rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the third one had its own identity, and I very much like that. And I think it's probably the most watchable of the trilogy. I can watch 3 more than I can the second or the first one. It's a lot more easier to take.
Well, if I had to recommend it to anyone, I would say watch 1, then 3. Skip the middle.
No, because then you're gonna wonder what happened to Randy. You have to at least know what happened to Jamie Kennedy's
To which
character.
I would reply, Wikipedia.
Yeah,
but like you said about annoying characters, you still have to have some semblance of.
Can I still have sex with
affection for I'm just gonna ignore that comment. Affection for annoying characters, whereas I just go, my god.
Yeah, but isn't that the staple of horror movies? Which is you have to have annoying characters.
I don't think it's that at all.
There's a list
of. I disagree.
No. See, let me finish, peeps, because otherwise I won't get to have sex with Courtney Cox. Isn't there like a checklist down of things you have to do? And that's why I like this movie. It's a cliche, or these movies, particularly 3. You know, it's a cliche within itself. But isn't there a checklist of shit you have to do?
No.
You know, in horror? No, there should be. It should be.
No, there shouldn't be. The
Decapitate
best
this person,
films don't have
do this
checklists.
person, need a twist here, bird takes a top off here.
No.
I think the first one. Yeah, the first one gets away with that because it lampshaded that, but no movie should get away with that unless they're doing like what Scream did, which is pointing out that fact.
Yeah.
You've never seen Jason Ted, have you?
Best horror films don't follow that pattern, i.e. the first Saw film.
No, real horror. See, this is a divisive thing in my brain, which is this. Oh, this is a whole sub,
first Saw
genre,
film
which
does
is
not follow
real
the
horror films and mainstream horror films.
Saw was
They're
mainstream.
not the same.
Saw
They're not
is
the same.
incredibly mainstream.
No, the original Saw was shot for what, $1.5 million?
Yes, but
it was a low-budget film that caught on.
But it wasn't a mainstream horror movie at the time because no one had done anything like that.
That's like saying the first Friday the 13th is a mainstream movie because it
but it
was
has
such a big
one.
Yeah, but you see the point I'm trying to make, which is you have mainstream horror movies and you have this little pocket to the left that, may have budgets or not, but they're not.
I just feel mainstream is the easy way out, and people shouldn't always take the easy way out. Have some creativity, have some ideas.
But that's the point I'm trying to make. There are 2 genres here. The divide. I love Scream 3, don't get me wrong, but my
I'd
point
rather
is
call it just horror because I'd just rather call it horror and have fun.
Horror's like everything else. It has politics. There are pockets. There are divisions. There are,
but
moments.
you can say that about everything, dramas, all the
dramas. Sadly, it's true though, isn't it?
It is, but I thought we were talking about horror, not.
I have many divisions of
horror.
my face when I moisturize, but.
Okay, let's kind of back things up a bit and stay on topic. As far as
you hate me, Annina. I'm upset.
Calm down, everybody.
I just disagree with you.
This is one of the most divisive topics I've brought up on the series on the show. I'm actually kind of liking it.
Just because I disagree doesn't mean I hate you.
I'm taking the piss.
Yeah, you're annoying because you talk on top
I
of me.
can't stay mad at you because you look really good in a blonde wig.
Thank you.
All right, and on that note, let's kind of deviate from that. Like I said, I appreciate what Scream 3 did. I'm a big Scream fan.
I'm with Miguel on this one, by the way. I think this was a really, really good, solid movie.
Yeah, and as far as why I like the Scream movies, because I think Annina brought it up, like I said, I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, so I grew up at the tail end of when horror was just bad. When I grew up around the time where you had stuff like Jason Part 9, Halloween 6, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, although New Nightmare
Have you ever seen American Werewolf in London, by the way?
I've seen bits and pieces of it.
I've seen it, yeah. I like it.
I have to... this is... we can never have an episode about me talking about favourite movies. I demand that you watch American Werewolf in London. I demand.
Yeah.
I demand.
It is good.
Yeah, it's just one of those movies that's kind of gone under the radar for me.
It's the best werewolf movie ever in the world, ever. Yeah. And Rick Mail is in it.
It's got to be better than American Werewolf in Paris, because I think I did watch that.
Dude, I had a shit this morning, and there was corn in it, and it was better than an American Werewolf in Paris.
All right, so yeah, as far as Scream, I latched onto it because, like I said, it was at the tail end of the really bad slate of
good call, by the way.
So I was just kind of
me, but good call.
Yeah, I mean, there was really nothing good as far as horror coming out at that time, and even the good horrors weren't calling themselves horror. They were calling themselves thrillers, as they say.
Oh, yeah. Let's be a 12A certificate.
Yeah, like I said, I latched onto it. It was one of the first big horror franchises I liked. So, like I said, I may be looking at it from nostalgic goggles, but I do think Scream 3 holds up better than most people think.
Yeah. And it was a good finale to a series of films that, even in Wes Craven's words, was said that he only wanted to make one film. It was kind of studio pressure that made him make the sequels. So I get it. I enjoyed it. It was there for what it was, and I don't see it as a terrible movie.
It was a solid finale to a group of movies, regardless of studio interference, that redefined, cheesy as they were, redefined horror at that point.
It redefined it for
that. They made other studios wake up and just think, right, we can't just do the standard shit that we do. We have to kind of, mix it up a bit. So for that, at least, I say thank you, Scream, because you made Hollywood wake up and just go, let's have something different from our slasher movies.
Well, I think the thing is, they wanted to make it out to be a statement, but then Hollywood bastardized it in the same sense as they were doing, because I think it was his statement to say, look, I'm getting sick and tired of this, and Hollywood was like, it's making money, let's do more.
The irony there, though, is Wes Craven, created the franchise, not the franchise, the genre, if you will, and then he went back to it, and then he made that, and then he got pissed off that Hollywood hijacked it. Dude, you've been working in this industry for years. Duh. What do you fucking think?
You say it tried to be different. I saw it as being anything but. It wasn't different.
You're
even
thinking...
though it tried its bloody hardest to be, it was not different.
I've got a funny feeling that you probably felt that it was a little pretentious, Anita.
Yes,
I
can agree with that.
It was pretentious by someone who didn't know what pretension was.
Oh, sorry, Annina. I do apologise. It is way too late tonight. But
It was like someone who's makes something pretentious, but not actually knowing what that word means. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I can agree with you on that remark. I can, because as someone who's a film buff myself, same as you. I
didn't realise, Annina, that you met my twin brother. Sorry.
I can agree with you on that remark, because as someone who's basically from the same background, as an actor, if I looked at it as an actor and just went, my God, what the fuck are they doing with it? I would have been really pissed off. It's like...
It's not even the bad acting. It's just the whole thing.
It's like a big budget version of but that again, as a film fan, as someone who loves, I'm not a huge fan of horror movies, but I understand them, and the factor that's going in terms of this movie and what it was trying to represent, I get it. It's, to me, it's very avant-garde, whereas but I think you're very entitled to the fact that when you see it, you look at it as pretentious.
At all, that's the thing. It might try to be it, misses the mark by miles, miles and miles and miles.
Let's deviate from that, because we're kind of just going in a circle.
This up, which is I stand with Miguel on this one.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like I said, I love the series. You either love it or you hate it, but I think 3 even gets too much hate from the people that love the series, and I just wanted to highlight that. So let's jump forward to 2004. We've mentioned this movie before in some of the previous episodes, and I had to think back because I don't remember if I put this on my previous list or not. I'm pretty sure I didn't. So, folks, if you're listening to this and you still have that old episode, you feel free to message me on Twitter, twitter.com/unmovieshow, if I'm repeating myself. But I was not a big fan of this movie at first. Having gone back and rewatched it, I very much appreciate it. I fell into the same trap that a lot of people did with this movie, and that is 2004's Chronicles of Riddick.
Finally, you have come to the dark side, Miguel, because I was the one defending this movie, if you remember.
Oh, that was on your list?
It was basically, I remember when you first officially mocked it, I came back and said...
First officially, I mocked thee.
Yes, it was on the show, so he officially mocked it. You were talking about your dislike for this movie, and I was stating to you that, for me, it was like a space Conan adventure.
I think,
in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a Space Conan adventure, and I fell into the trap. Like a lot of people, was expecting basically Pitch Black 2.
Yeah.
And I think this threw off a lot of people. It basically, they didn't know how to take it because
I will say this, which is they tried to expand the universe of Riddick.
The idea
too quickly.
The idea was to expand the universe so they could make more movies based on this portrayal of Riddick, because his character in Pitch Black, his character wasn't supposed to be
he was an asshole.
Yeah, he wasn't
the man with no name.
Yeah, he wasn't a centralized character. He was more the guy that you couldn't trust because he was an asshole, as Dave put it, and he was also a guy that could have been the villain. Because in terms of Pitch Black, it was kind of a
That's why it's great. He's the bloke you can trust, but at the same time,
you have to rely on
what he does, and you have to basically rely on him, not knowing whether he's doing it for you or himself.
Exactly, and that's exactly what the movie portrays. And then when they went into Chronicles of Riddick, because his character became so popular, they were like, we want to do a series of new films, but we want to turn him into, and he wasn't the good guy. They turned him into they turned him into an anti-hero. And if you watch this and look at the Conan movies, it's literally
they turned
the
him
same
into an anti-hero, but in the first movie he wasn't. He was a villain. He just did it to survive.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. He went from being a survivor to a guy with purpose, with cause. The story is actually pretty well written. The reason behind why he goes on this journey is in place, and everything, including the subtext, it's all implicit. It's there. It's very unique. It's very well shot. It's very well done, and it reminds me a lot of movies of the same vein, like Star Wars, for instance. It has that rather Conan-ish feel to it, because he goes from being kind of the outsider to like a king of these like freaking people, when unintentionally. And he has that great bit where he's sitting there on the throne, and they have it reminded me a lot of when King Conan was sitting on the throne, and it's like, and he ruled for decades. But this one, you had Vin Diesel's character Riddick basically hate the fact that he's doing this, because he becomes everything that he hates, that he stood up against. And it's very, very kind of anti-political in that sense as well. I loved it. I think as a standalone movie, it worked well. The fact that Riddick's character was further developed and you could understand why he went through all this pain and tension is great. And how the only person he ever loved ends up being used against him and, is killed right in front of him. It's brilliant. For everything this movie is, it has so much brilliance to it. I just think people were just being really bitchy about it because they wanted another Pitch Black.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem with it initially was it tried to give too much backstory to the man with no name. The best example I could put is, it's like if they tried to do this big epic backstory for Boba Fett. Got a character like that. There are certain characters that their big claim to fame is their mystique behind them. You don't know what their backstory is, and Riddick was one of those characters. He was, as I said, the man with no name.
People are so charismatic that you can live without knowing what's behind them, because that's part of why you appreciate them.
Yeah, and I think the backstory for this movie is great. It's just it would have been better for a character that was better suited for it. If they'd have taken this story and transplanted onto a completely original character, I don't think people would have been as negative as they were, because there was a lot of backlash against this movie.
Yeah, there was hate.
But people didn't like it.
Universal basically shelved the character at any purpose for the character, and the thing is as well, they had a game that was.
This was really, 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 really hyped, and wasn't there an Xbox game?
There was, and the game itself apparently was really well received as well.
You know why? It was done by Vin Diesel's actual development company, Starbreeze Studios.
Yeah.
It's his company. So he basically, and going back to what we said, I think we mentioned this on Dax's episode of Defending Bad Movies, Riddick, Vin Diesel loves the character so much, he agreed to come back to the Fast and the Furious series for Part 3 if he could, for no money. All he said was, I want you to sign off the rights to Riddick to me.
Oh, he did Sean Connery for Never Say Never Again, then, basically, which is, I'll make this movie, but here's what I want.
He wanted because he loves the character. He understands the character. It's his baby, and he basically had to go out of his way to fund the Riddick movie, the 2012 version, to the point to where I think one of the
He
stories
mortgaged
I heard
his
was,
house. Yeah.
he mortgaged his house.
The 2012. I know we're not talking about this, but the 2012 version is fucking amazing.
I was probably the only person that felt, I didn't hate it, but I felt indifferent about it.
I thought it was,
I liked it. I have it on Blu-ray.
Fantastic. I love the fact, and I know this is not a reason to love a movie, but it's just me, looking behind the scenes. But I love the fact that there were no actual real, outside shots in it. It was all shot on a set with, green screen behind. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Plus, Katie Sackhoff gets her tits out. Sorry.
Oh, I was actually just about to mention that. You read my mind. It's a positive.
Men's penises, but yeah.
Oh, come on. Katie Sackhoff's beautiful.
She is beautiful. She is beautiful, but
I don't mean that in a sexual way. She looked like Venus.
I'm a very pervy guy myself, but there's some things where I can.
What's a pervy?
Pervy, but I'm very much, in terms of the way that I see things. If I know someone's doing it just to bait people in, I just sit there and go, ugh.
She has amazing nipples.
The thing is, she's a very good actress as well. She doesn't need to do that, but
to my mind, her greatest moments are in the bath with Sybilis in Big Bang Theory.
Anyway, in terms of this movie, I felt this movie had a far better, superior story in opposed to the third Riddick movie.
Though, you can agree with me on that.
It was developing a world that people were not ready for, nor they wanted.
But that's my point. It overstretched because
the problem is sometimes you've got to. I always say, if you're going to develop a character like this, you've got to ease people into it.
Exactly, but it went from this bloke in Pitch Black who was
It's like trying to turn.
People liked it. We can make a franchise out of it.
It's like trying to turn Freddy Krueger into a comedic character. That's the way I'd put it. It's like you take Freddy in an environment where he's in a horror movie, and then drop him in Kindergarten Cop.
I think the one descriptive term you can use for that movie, even though I love that movie, and good call, Miguel, I love that movie, is through no fault of the people who were invested in it and had vision and wanted to do it. Why am I raising my hands? You can't see them. Overstretch. They tried to bridge this movie to the other movie, or they tried to take the first movie and then just create a franchise off it because it was successful, and it was like Miguel said, which is, we kind of like this bloke being like Clint Eastwood, the man who had no name, and now you've tried to, in 1 2-hour movie, develop all his backstory, develop an entire universe. It's a little bit. I mean, I like this movie, but it's a little bit too much.
Yeah, and you know what the sad part is? You guys are saying it's the studios. It wasn't actually. David Twohy had carte blanche, and he wrote the script. He was the guy that directed the first movie. I think more so it was a case of the studio kind of letting the director go crazy, and this is what you get. And sometimes you get good things, and sometimes you get things like Chronicles of Riddick, where I think the director, and even Vin Diesel, he helped write it as well. They wanted to create this big universe for a character. Yeah, I think he helped out. I mean, he helped. He was creatively. I think he helped with the script.
The thing is, I think the transition should have been a lot more slower paced, and the Chronicles of Riddick could have worked as kind of a free movie. Part. Yeah, it could have been a free movie story arc, in my opinion.
There should have been a whole second movie where he, leaves the planet or whatever and Pitch Black.
It's the transition.
Goes towards the Federation, whatever, and along the way, fights, bumps, shit like that. But
yeah, it should have transitioned itself.
Go, hey, here's the bloke who survived that horrible planet in a B movie that no one thought was going to be successful, but everyone loved it. So boom.
And now he's a good guy. Yeah, it really did take a character that was engrossed in one type of movie.
The third one, which I know you said you didn't.
Yeah, I do like the fact it does acknowledge the other movie.
Was a proper return to the first one.
Yeah, it acknowledges the other two movies.
Plus Katie Sackhoff, sorry.
And it does its job in terms of re-establishing Riddick as a badass, but in my opinion, there's one of the reasons. Well, there's a couple of reasons I didn't like it. One was
not an entire badass because look at how he has his dog and stuff.
Well,
there's humanity within the
they still maintain some of the humanity he had from the previous movie, but I felt that there's a like some of the acting was bad. You couldn't pinpoint who the main villain was because one guy killed the other guy. They kind of kept hot potatoing who the main villain was in this, and like the third thing that I had an issue with was
I do like the fact that they do acknowledge and reference the prior movie as canon in this movie.
Yeah, it kind of shoehorned a lot of it as well, which I had an issue with. But it's not, as I said, it's not a bad thing. It's just, to me, I felt Chronicles of Riddick was a far superior movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Bold statement, Burhan.
And I'll stand by it. And again, as I said, great effects, great CGI in terms of the movie itself, great character development, great story. In terms of pacing, it did it just right. And also, it turned a character that people loved for all the wrong reasons into a character that basically became the hero of this movie. It was a great Conan movie set in space. This is what this movie was.
I agree with you on some levels, but I think even though I love Chronicles of Riddick, I think some essence of the character was lost within, and the trying to be too expansive too quickly, trying to run before you can walk.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to tell. It's like if you take the first three movies of Star Wars and just shove them into one long film.
What I'm trying to say is, I think the third movie restored a lot of the character of the original movie, and I'm quite surprised you prefer the. I mean, don't get me wrong, good call, Miguel. I like the second movie, but I'm quite surprised that you think the second movie is superior to the third.
I do. I think it's so superior to the third. I felt the third movie failed because it went backwards instead of forwards. I don't give a shit. Tits do not make a movie.
I tell you this much: swap Riddick as the second film and Chronicles as the third film. I think they work better. I think if Riddick was the sequel to Pitch Black and then it went into Chronicles of Riddick, I think it would work better.
Oh my god!
Which one should I haven't seen any of these films. Which one should I start off with?
Start with Pitch Black, then go to Riddick, and then do Chronicles of Riddick.
Okay, because I don't know. I've been toing and froing with these ones, but I am curious.
Yeah,
you know what? I know you're a big fan of Vin Diesel as an actor. He really does do some of his best acting. I think 2 he's good. I actually like him better in 3 because he has to act on his own. He has no one else to act against except for the creatures.
The amazing
he has potential. I think in terms of Vin Diesel, he can act, but he's never given the opportunity to act. If that makes sense.
Yeah, he's not. No one's gonna ever put him in a Shakespearean role.
Hollywood says
no, and it's also he's an action star. He's an actor that's been shoehorned as an action star who doesn't like being an action star, that wants to be an actor. He's tried it a couple of times with some really good straight-to-DVD movies, like A Man Apart. I like that movie. It's a shame that everybody else in that movie was terrible. He does a good job in terms of what he portrays. The problem with him is I don't think he's a great leading man when he tries to act, which is a shame.
I disagree.
He's a great leading man.
Real presence.
He's a great leading man when he does the Fast and Furious movies because he's in an ensemble cast. But he's like he's the lead out of that cast.
So you say he has to play off other people he can't?
Not necessarily. He's better in genre movies than he is in movies as an actor. But I really feel in terms of the way that he is like, how can I say it? That one of the movies that I've always said is one of the most spectacular movies I've ever seen, but so underrated, was a Ryan Reynolds movie called Buried. And the reason why I loved it so much, he was on his own. It was him, a phone, and a coffin, right? And the amount of urgency.
The most riveting thing you've seen.
Yeah, and it's a man on his own in an enclosed space. No, trust me, it's not. It's a man.
When I say that, I mean, is it like literally one scene is the focus?
Yeah, it's one character, one scene is the focus, but he's one guy who's trapped somewhere. He doesn't know how he got there, and the story unravels as you go along, and you've got these little set pieces to kind of bring it out. It reminds me a lot of a stage play. It's him engaging with his audience, right? But he's doing it via the camera. It's a very hard thing to do, and Reynolds can pull it off, but he doesn't get the opportunity to do that, or he ends up getting himself put in really bad movies that don't highlight that. I think the same can be said for Vin Diesel to a point, you know, where he can act really well, but he's better when he's in an ensemble of people who can help him.
He can bounce off.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of, I would call it, it's not like the 50 Cent thing where he would have to be in a movie where everybody else was a better actor than he was to kind of bring him up a level.
I could be in that movie, and I would be a better actor than everyone else.
But do you know what I mean? It's kind of like with Vin Diesel, he's a really good actor. He's just not the level in terms of holding a movie on his own as a leading man. I think if you
lost
put
his way, if you think about it, though, which is
not really.
He was I mean, he was more bankable by Hollywood a few years ago than he is now.
No, I disagree.
He had an Xbox game. I owned it. What was it?
Escape from Butcher Bay.
Yeah, the Chronicles of Riddick one.
No. He had an Xbox 360.
Oh, the Wheelman. I remember that. Yeah, that was supposed to be the Driver reboot that was never got retitled.
Yeah, and now we drift along. I'm not chastising him because he's far richer than I am, but
no. But if you look at the box office bank in terms of his previous bank and in terms of now, he's made a hell of a lot of money now, and a lot of it is just due to the fact that the Fast and Furious movies continue to be successful. So in terms of that, in terms of the money he makes, I'm zero in terms of box office attraction. He's probably made billions in terms of box office attraction. Actually, not even probably, he has. So he's a leading man in terms of that sense. But if you put him in a movie on his own, people don't want to see it. It's the way it is, and I don't think he can capture people's attention as well.
Basically, what you're saying is he's the Sting of Hollywood.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I can buy that.
He's not
good. He's got character.
He's not a leading man per se, but he's better. Yeah, he's better. Yeah, he's better with others than he is on his own with an ensemble cast. The one thing I would say about the third Riddick movie, it played to his strengths, in a sense. His character was very monotone, Clint Eastwood-esque.
Well, it went back to the first movie though.
Yeah, he reminded me of the man with no name in a spaghetti western in a sense. When he said a line, it was powerful, right? When he because
he only spoke in that movie if he absolutely had to.
Exactly. And where the Chronicles of Riddick kind of let him down was he had so much dialogue. It was kind of the same thing that happened with Schwarzenegger when he was doing Mr. Freeze, and everyone was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, he's opening his mouth again."
You won't take me to the corner.
But I felt with Riddick there was a lot more character development that could have been had that wasn't had, and with Chronicles of Riddick, shall I say?
I hope.
So I agree with you. Chronicles of Riddick is a far better movie, but again, it does suffer the same fate as something like Judge Dredd with Stallone, where if it would have been called anything else, I think people would have been far more acceptable to it.
Agreed. Real quick before I move on to the final film, because you said you've seen some of his movies. I don't want to go too much into this, but it's a movie I've been interested in. How's Babylon AD?
Pretty good.
I love the intro from the movie where the camera kind of pans in, everything's slowed down, and he says, "Today I die today. Today is the day that I die."
I liked it.
And the camera flashes forward and then it goes back. It's got a great story. It's very 2000 AD-ish in terms of the way that it's shot.
It's very British dystopian opinion of the future.
Yeah, and it's very and it also highlights something like when they talk about this girl that he's basically trying to take to certain places. It has the story kind of goes from one end to another of the spectrum, because 1 minute it's about trafficking, and then the next minute the story turns into a whole different,
very disjointed middle section of this movie.
Yeah, which kind of lets it down.
That might be due to the fact that the only real cut is the French cut. Every other cut had 10 minutes taken out of it. So I think the Blu-ray version actually does put back in that 10 minutes. So that's why I was thinking about it, because it looks good.
Miguel, it's a really good movie.
Yeah,
but
the pacing does let it down.
Middle, where you're just kind of
Why did that happen?
How is this? Yeah.
Yeah.
How is this relevant?
Yeah, in terms of the pacing, it does let it down a little bit. As far as like character development, as far as the movie itself, it is really it's really good, but it could have been a lot. The thing is, if they tweaked the story, it could have been a lot better, and I think the story lets it down a lot more. But Vin Diesel was flawless in it. His character is very well done. It's very well acted, and again,
one of those movies that if you got a director's cut, would actually benefit from not having more put in, but certain sections of the movie cut out. Because I think it's safe to say, Burhan, you agree with me, which is if they remove certain sections and kept the pacing, how it like hits the floor running at the start, it'd be an amazing movie. But it just goes boom, stop. Boom! Stop! And you're like, really? I was really having fun. I was enjoying this, and now we just hit the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's one of those where you're engaged, and then when it hits that kind of when the pacing changes, and it takes a weird U-turn, you just sat there and go, what happened?
Where did that come from?
Yeah, it was like, why? What? And it reminds me a lot when. If you could use a wrestling analogy, when you take a character who's like way over as a face, they win the title, and then suddenly they're heel, and you're like, why? What happened? Did I miss something? Did I just fall asleep? And you like rewinding the movie just to find out what the hell's going on. It's a good movie. It's not amazing, and as I said, the scripting and pacing lets it down.
It could be amazing.
Yeah, it could have been. It was a great concept that was let down, I think, by those who developed it. Vin Diesel plays a character that he's known for playing, which is the very quiet, masculine type.
I'll have to look. I'm curious about it. Yeah, it's got a very low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and I like to find movies like that and see if they really are deserving of that ranking. I think it's like sitting. Let me check because I got Rotten Tomatoes up. Let's see. Babylon.
Dude, it's a good movie. Just take into perspective what myself and Burhan said.
Yeah. Again, as I said,
if you edit in your own head what we said, then it's a brilliant movie.
Yeah, it's sitting at a 6 right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
But that's not bad on what.
Can I ask you to do me a favor and check what 50 Shades of Grey has on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh God.
25.
Did you just say 60?
Right.
It's 25 out of 100. Babylon AD is significantly less quality than 50 Shades of Grey.
So I'm calling bullshit on Rotten Tomatoes. Then I'm sorry.
Can I just say a personal pet peeve that's driving me up the wall, because you all know I work in retail, and you have the stupid in-store radio going. Well, you know this, Miguel. In-store radio going on. If I hear one more fucking commercial about the unseen version of 50 Shades of Grey, I'm fucking going mental.
There's a reason why it's unseen.
Yeah,
because no one wants to fucking watch it.
The whole movie needs to be unseen.
You cannot.
It really offended my manager when he was standing next to me and he was like, doing stuff, doing stuff with me. That sounds terrible.
Butt stuff.
He was opening. No, that's you, Burhan.
You clenched, so you got offended.
He was opening boxes and shit next to me, and it just popped, just went 50 Shades of Grey. And what's the bird's name? Anastasia or something?
Yeah.
The moment it changed Anastasia's life, and my brain just said it because that's how I am. And he pissed himself out loud, and I just went, and I put my movie voice on and just went, was the moment she was spanked sideways and called a slag.
The thing is, the what makes me laugh is this woman is doing writing classes now, and she released another book which is literally a retelling of. It's the retelling. Yeah, it's the retelling of the first movie in his perspective, and I was just like, this is the way our society has become. It makes me sad.
I want more money, even though I can retire off this. But I want more money.
She's a billionaire.
Creative.
Yeah, wasn't there going to be a spin-off book for Twilight, but it got leaked, so Stephanie Meyers canceled it?
Thank fuck for that.
Yeah, I think she was going to tell it was going to be a retelling of the first book from Edward's perspective, and then parts of that her draft got leaked, and so she just said, "Fuck it, I'm not doing it," because somebody leaked it, so she was like, "I'm not going to do it." I do think it's kind of funny that 50 Shades is at 25%, which is the same rating as Jupiter Ascending. I saw that a week ago.
Do me a solid, Miguel, and just check how much money did it take?
What, Jupiter Ascending or 50 Shades?
50 Shades.
50 Shades would have taken in a lot of money.
I don't want to see it because I swear it's gonna make me sad.
It would have taken in a lot. I worked in the cinema when that was on.
Yeah.
Made so much money on it.
Right, so
I'm cramping up, guys. I'm cramping up.
So Miguel, what's your next bad movie you're defending?
$40 million budget, $569 million take home.
Oh, exactly.
Nice. God,
I was at the cinema when that came on. It made a truckload of money.
$500 million take home. That makes me. That hurts.
Mhm.
You know what the funniest thing is? I heard it work 2 days ago when I was, because it's every fucking 15 minutes we hear the advertisement for 50 Shades on the radio, and I just went, Jesus Christ, I'm sick and tired of this. I'll slap that bird's ass myself if she fucks off. And someone just went, I watched that in the cinema, and I just like to say, that looked painful. I mean, really, seriously?
Oh.
I just would have fucked off and called the police because he's being abusive. Like,
yeah.
thank you.
Let's not go into this. I'll say one thing about that movie. I went to the theaters the Friday that premiered, and the theaters were packed. Now, I didn't go to see the movie, guys.
Was everyone 45-year-old?
No, I went with my sister to go see SpongeBob 2, and we went the same Friday that 50 Shades opened, and yeah, it was packed. That whole theater was packed for that movie, and here I am with my little sister holding tickets for SpongeBob, Sponge Out of Water, which is a much better film.
Don't look, honey. Don't look.
Dude, if I had the choice between SpongeBob, Sponge Out of Water, and 50 Shades of Grey, I would have watched SpongeBob. I went to watch 50 Shades of Grey with a friend of mine, and I literally, after coming out of the movie, I was laughing, horrendously. Everyone in the cinema was taking the piss out of this movie, and the fact that even people who just were there to see they're like, where's the sex? There's no sex. What the hell's happening?
I watch real porn, but I've turned up for this anyway.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it was, I sat there and I just looked at the person I was with, and I was just like, hey, you know what could have resolved this whole entire movie? And she's like, what's that?
The reel.
I was like, no, is if the whole resolution is if he actually got himself a hobby. That was it. Yeah. If he got himself an Xbox, the movie would have ended like 5 minutes into it.
Well, this is one of the greatest comments I ever heard in my life. When they talk about, Grey, they're like, he's a billionaire and he does this to birds. Why doesn't he just do the Jay Leno route and buy fucking cars?
As Miguel said, he's Batman without,
because he's, quote, damaged.
Yeah, dude, if you're a billionaire that's damaged, fight crime. I'll say that.
Go to therapy. Have some therapy. You can afford it.
Do you know what's going to happen? She'll probably know that and then go, E.L. James in Grey, the Cape Crusader.
Well, they are making a film. She's rewriting not a film. She's rewriting the first book, and it's called Grey, and it's from his perspective.
No, that's out. That is out,
It's out.
And it's sold over 1 million copies.
Oh God! What is it gonna be? I spanked her. End of chapter.
No, it was like, I see her. She's I think someone read a chapter for me. It was like, I can see the way that she looks at me, the way she bites her lip. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. And it's just like, oh, for fuck off. I was like, seriously.
Fuck all of the way off with that. But I will say this. I have not seen 50 Shades, but I don't know if I would choose... I don't know. Given the choice between Jupiter Ascending and 50 Shades, I don't know if I would choose a Bullet. Because Jupiter Ascending, I don't know if I've told you guys about that movie. That is...
Dude, you can cut my penis off with a rusty bread knife before I watch that movie.
Dude, Jupiter Ascending was... I got suckered into watching that because my parents bought it on demand. That movie is everything I thought it was going to be. It is a big budget, confused mess. Oh, God.
Can I quickly just pop back to 50 Shades?
Real quick.
For one reason. And this sums up how sad English people are. Um, you know me with my double selfies when I take pictures of me in front of like inanimate objects behind me, and I did that brilliant one with the cardboard cutout of 50 Shades. And my friend at work came up, who, well, she's like in her 60s, and she's like, "Oh, I saw your picture. Can you take a picture of me in front of him?" And we tried to find the cardboard cutout, the life-size cardboard cutout of Grey, and it turned out that someone actually walked into the store and stole it. That's fucking embarrassing. Someone stole a life-size cutout of Grey to take home. I don't even want to know what they're going to do. I'm trying to block out that episode of Family Guy where he bangs Kathy Griffin in the fucking shower. But like, really? Someone stole that. Jesus Christ.
So we're going to go on to your final movie that you're defending, Miguel?
Sorry, I'll shut
up now.
Definitely.
And we've mentioned this final film here and there. I know Burhan loves this movie, and this movie, I brought up Rotten Tomatoes because this movie's sitting at a 6, I believe. It's not.
Wow.
Yeah, it's it's at an 8. This movie that I'm about to bring up is sitting at an 8, and I think it's a lot better than an 8. I think the biggest problem with it is its budget, but that's not its fault, and that is.
Can you do me one favor, Miguel?
Sure.
Can you say Rotten Tomatoes?
Tomatoes. Okay.
Oh,
and that would be 2011's Dylan Dog Dead of Night.
Oh, yeah, a very underrated movie.
It's a very fun movie. I think too many people criticize it for its budget. It is a very, I wouldn't say it's a cheap-looking film, but I think one of the reasons why I like it is it feels like a TV movie. It feels like a TV movie that Joss Whedon produced. Like, it's very much in that same Buffy the Vampire Slayer Angel vein. I think it
I didn't realize that this movie got so much hatred.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't like it. They said it basically, the line according to the website is the critics' consensus is an uninspired, feebly acted horror comedy that produces little scares and laughs.
Fuck them. It's so much fun.
The thing is, I think the one thing about this movie that kind of people didn't get was the budget.
Yeah.
The budget wasn't, it wasn't there, in terms of the budget itself, for what they wanted to do and how ambitious they wanted to be with the movie. So you could tell with some of the effects, it just looks rough. The story I felt was really well done. Again, it was one of those that it needed to be hashed out a little bit more. I felt, in terms of being a vehicle for, what's his name? Brandon Routh. It was a really good movie. I felt Ralph played the cocky detective who just really didn't give a fuck.
Here's the big problem that people had with that movie as far as fans, is that that's not what Dylan Dog's character is. Dylan Dog, as far as the comic books, which most people don't even know that Dylan Dog is actually based off of an Italian comic book. In the comic books, he's more like an Adrian Monk. He's got a lot of weird little tics and stuff. He's got a lot of weird. He's neurotic, basically, and that's not the way that Ralph played him. Ralph played him as kind of not liking humans, which is kind of, the same as the Italian comic book, but he has a lot of weird schisms and stuff. Like, he's got a lot of phobias. Actually, one of the things in the comic book is that he wears the same thing all the time, because it goes back to what Ralph said in the movie. Some people find comfort in living the same day over and over, which is very key to the Dylan Dog character. That's kind of one of his neuroses.
Yeah.
But they didn't really expand upon it, and I, like I said, I didn't follow the comic book too much. I've only read parts of it, so I'm only vaguely familiar with it.
I thought that was a direct pop at the comic book, or comic book, sort of mythology, which is they're taking the piss out of the fact that, that's how comic books are. So if you put on the big screen, of course he's going to be linear. Of course he's going to be this bloke. Of course he's going to wear only like one change of clothes, but that might just be the way I interpret it.
Yeah, I think this is one of the things I like about this movie is no character really overshadowed the other. Brandon Routh was good, but he never outshadowed Sam Huntington, who was really good in this movie. I'm a big Sam Huntington mark. That's one of the reasons why I'm thinking about going back into watching Being Human. Because he's great in that.
Oh, Being Human, I love you. Sorry.
Yeah, he's really good in Sam Huntington. He played the werewolf character in Being Human. I fell out of that series, but I got to get back into it.
Can I just go on a slight tangent?
Sure.
I own all the I mean, I love Being Human. I love the the original BBC show. Apart from the last season, which was shit, but I've just bought all the box sets of the US version, and it's fucking amazing. There's so much, and this is what annoyed me about people from the UK saying like, "Oh, Being Human, you could never make a BBC show again." And it's like, it's more human than our version. Right? You have 13 episodes per season as opposed to 6 in ours, but it's just there's so much character development in the US Being Human that I fucking adore it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, and Sam Huntington is really fun in there, and he's fun in here as Marcus, the zombie. In fact, I like his B plot slightly more than I like his A plot, where he's kind of adjusting to living as a zombie of sorts. The eating styles and just kind of that scene with the diner where he gives him the hot dog, and he's like, "Wait, why are you giving me a hot dog?" And he's just sitting there horrified. He's like, "Oh God, not hot dogs! That's disgusting. Do you know how many hot dogs I ate as a kid?" Like, just the realization on his face. Like, he is... I don't get how people can say this movie isn't funny, because he's great in the movie, but going back to what I said...
People are snobs. They like Burhan said, they look at budgets, then they look at, the production of the actual show.
And also, this was, like, at a time where he was still stigmatized from the whole Superman... Returns fiasco, and again, that wasn't his fault.
Built up, and then
no, but that wasn't his fault. He did perfectly fine on it, and the issue, I think, the problem was.
He's a really good leading man. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to him playing the Atom in Heroes of Tomorrow. I think it's called, right, or World of Tomorrow.
Yeah, DC's Heroes of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I like it, but yeah, you go back to the cast. I mean, Brandon Routh's great. Sam Huntington is great.
Angle's in there. Angle's in there for like a cup of coffee, but he's great for what he does. Do you know what I mean?
Taye Diggs playing the kind of cocky, businessman type vampire character was good.
Yeah.
I'm a mark for Peter Stormare. Anytime he pops up in a movie, I love it because he's great in the role. He really does bring a sort of legitimacy to the film. Being Peter Stormare and all.
Does this mean that Brandon Routh is, is never gonna or not gonna have any sort of, outside TV?
I think he's realised it now, and to me, I think he would be a great leading man for a romance movie. I think when given the opportunity,
good hair.
He would slot into a kind of a Brendan Fraser type role. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy who would be good doing some comedies, doing like something like The Mummy. But the problem is his stock in Hollywood has gone down the toilet, and it's not just because he's been stigmatized with bad movies. He's also been stigmatized with TV shows that have been cancelled. He was in about 4 different shows that got cancelled.
Really?
I think it's only now he's actually hit something where he's managing to maintain a fan base. We'll see how Heroes of Tomorrow goes.
He really has his path to stardom has really mirrored the likes of Nathan Fillion.
Yeah. Well, Fillion has had more of a success on TV than he had a film, and I think with Fillion, he's also one of those guys who I felt he was a far better leading man than people wanted to make him out to be. He started from soap operas.
He was far too charismatic for his audience.
I still believe he should have been Hal Jordan. He's the prime guy who could have been Hal Jordan. I know when it comes to DC and the way that they treated the Green Lantern property, I just don't... The thing what makes me laugh about DC and their movie properties is they are owned by Warner Brothers, right? They are a Warner Brothers company, yet when they try to portray these movies, they get a screenwriter in to go, let's reimagine it. And it's like, no, just don't. What are you doing? And
Speaking of Green Lantern, do we want to touch real quick on the rumored casting for the upcoming Green Lantern
apparently
movie?
It's going to be multiple lanterns in this movie. Which, by the way, I will point out, DC, I pitched this to you guys before, so I'm pointing this out. I pitched them the whole idea of having a Green Lantern ensemble kind of TV series and having the main focus of the movie be Hal Jordan.
Well, it looks like we're going to be getting Chris Pine as playing one of the Green Lanterns. I'm fine with that.
Slight
Trying to
tangent.
think Chris
How
Pine.
do we feel about the casting for Spider-Man?
I gotta see what the movie's gonna look like, because if we're dealing with a new look for the Spider-Man universe, I gotta see how he looks with the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Isn't it someone new? They cast someone new, someone young.
Yeah, I think so.
I like New Blood. I like the fact that they chose someone new.
All I'm going to say is this, and I might be the only person in the world who likes this, but I thought Garfield was alright.
No? I liked it. I thought Garfield 2 was terrible.
I preferred him to fucking Maguire.
Garfield?
Oh, I thought you meant the movie. Oh, you mean Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Yeah, I think better Spider-Man, bad movie. It's like
he was more the Peter Parker from the Ultimate Spider-Man universe, whereas Tobey Maguire, I would put more...
That's why I liked it. Tobey Maguire was just like fumbling fucking idiot.
He was more the main story Spider-Man, more the main canon Spider-Man.
I think as well, he kind of hammered it up a bit more in terms of a comic book character. The problem is when people say you're playing a comic book character, the actors tend to go, let's do it cartoony. And it's like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do.
Well, it's blokes
it's a person
in the background in offices making decisions about subject material they know fuck all about.
Yeah. But as I said, Dylan Dog, it was a far superior movie than people made it out to be. And it's a shame because it was actually one of the first movies I reviewed for Movie File. I did it as a kind of a written piece. And I reviewed the movie and I thought it was a really good movie. It just, like, in terms of budget constraints, in terms of what they had with it, and also the fact that Brandon Routh was suffering the same stigma for Superman Returns, it kind of killed off any heat this movie had. And to me, I think in opportunities, Brandon Routh could be a very credible leading man if Hollywood permits him to be. And also, he's got to, talk to his agent about finding roles for him that are not just about money, to say, okay, will this benefit me? Will this work towards my strengths and the characters that I can play? Because he's not going to be an action star. He's not that guy.
Going to the politics and constraints of Hollywood, the problem is basically your career ultimately is out of your hands and in the hands of your producer, director, management team. So kind of sad, really.
Yeah, if you're a big fan of those like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel-esque, that type of supernatural comedic type of delivery, you're gonna love Dylan Dog. It very much fits into there. In fact, honestly, I think Dylan Dog would make a great TV series. Given people say that the movie was given the movie people say that it has a budget that's more akin to TV, I would love to see this like as a Sci-Fi Channel TV series. I'd watch it. I think it really has a lot of legs, but it's not based off of an American comic book movie, so
it's not sci-fi anymore. I don't know if you've done the same.
It would be able to make itself as a series, like what Buffy did as a TV series as opposed to the movie. It would basically be able to highlight something rather unique and tell a story that has not been told to an American audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely I think it used to be on Netflix. It might still be on there. So if you have a Netflix account, go check that out. I believe it's still on there. It's a lot of fun. I love it. I try to watch it whenever Halloween rolls around because I think it really fits into there. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's very underrated. And that's pretty much it for my list. I think I really, got a chance to highlight a lot of films that I think really do deserve a second look. A lot of films that I think are bandwagoned into hatred, which I don't think they deserve. And we actually got probably the most energetic argument we've had about the Scream series. We might have to do another horror episode after that just to kind of be there. But yeah, in 2 weeks we'll do another episode and we will highlight Burhan's 5 films. So are there any that you want to kind of foreshadow before we head on out there, Mr. Burhan?
I'm going to probably look at loads of films that were done in the 90s. I may look at some of the noughties, but I tried to
hate
look.
that phrase. Sorry, the naughties.
Well, it's what they call it.
Makes me think that they're like, I don't know. Ooh, the naughty.
I tried to.
A scorned child in the corner.
Yeah.
I want to look at movies that kind of have been slept on in a sense, and some that, if you look at them today, a lot of people will just sit there and go, "Oh, that was terrible," just to basically like talk about them. I'm very. The thing about my palette as a moviegoer, I'm very eclectic. There's a lot of movies I love which mostly anybody else wouldn't done. I was actually surprised the response people got, what I got when I basically said that I loved Catch Me If You Can, which to me is an amazing movie.
I adore that movie.
Yeah.
I've only seen
Sorry,
parts of it.
my minion went off again. That's kind of like scaring me. I fucking adore that movie. I think that's an absolutely fantastic movie. I think
well done. It's well done. It's well written. It's well scripted.
Storytelling at its best.
Yeah.
It starts. It fills you with the characters. You know, whether you like them or loathe them or not, but it completely goes through, and it ends, and you just go, "That was a good movie." And if anything, it made me think, can I rip off the government?
Here's the problem with Catch Me If You Can. I think really the reason a lot of people disregard that film is DiCaprio. I think this came out right when he was doing stuff like The Beach and The Man in the Iron Mask and obviously Titanic. I think when people saw, DiCaprio was doing a leading man role, you know, I think a lot of people kind of just scoffed at it.
But it wasn't a leading man role. It was a co-leading man role. I don't despise him. I think he's one of the most underrated actors of our time because he's a guy who's never won an Oscar because reasons.
Fabulous. He's absolutely fabulous actor.
If I can talk about this movie, I'm not a fan of DiCaprio, but what I love about, and Byrne touched upon it just for that quick statement, what I love about this movie is it's, you know, hence the title, Catch Me If You Can. It's a cat and mouse between Tom Hanks and him through the entire movie.
And again, as well, it looks politically at some of the United States flaws, where when he's working
take a sticker off a plastic.
When he's working as an agent, he's like, "Look, we can get this guy. It's been confirmed this guy's doing it." And they're like, "You know what? Yeah, we don't really have to just call it a loss." And it's like, "No, we need to, like, you know, he's stealing money from people," and they're like, "Yeah, but we can't really get him." And
but he's lovable.
It's not just that. You get to see the subtext of his situation. You get to see his story and how that reflects. It's very well written, and again, in my opinion, it's one of Steven Spielberg's most underrated movies.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I know this is not what we were going to talk about, Miguel, but I have to say quickly about Catch Me If You Can. What I love about that movie, even though I'm not a criminal and I would never do shit like that, I do kind of like the fact that, which is, hey, good job, Leonardo. You found a way to circumvent the rules and make yourself money. Fair play.
Yeah, no, because at the end of the day, he was a guy with a purpose. He was like, "Look, I'm not going to turn out like my parents did." And it's a great story. I actually showed it to my mum the other day because we were watching, what was that? Identity Theft.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. We were watching Identity Theft first, and my mum watched Identity Theft, and she was like, "This movie isn't funny." And my mum likes all sorts of crappy films, right? But she didn't like Identity Theft, and I was like, "There's a far better version of this movie," and because it mirrors a lot of the initial movie. You know, it mirrors
such a bittersweet ending.
Yeah, it mirrors a lot of Catch Me If You Can, because in the end, both these characters are redeemable at the end.
He's not an asshole.
Yeah, both these characters have very bad childhoods. Both these characters basically go to money laundering, like fraud, because they believe that money is going to make them happy, and it ultimately doesn't. And both these characters are being pursued by someone. You know, in Identity Theft, it's by the original person that she's kind of done wrong. By Catch Me If You Can, it's actually by an FBI officer who DiCaprio's character has been pursued by. And the thing is, the great thing about this is the relationship that these two characters in Catch Me If You Can have. He becomes like a father figure.
At the end of the movie, when Tom Hanks finally captures him, sorry people, spoilers, there's a relationship established already, and it's like, you know, you can feel the respect he has for the individual. And obviously at this point, sorry people, spoilers, DiCaprio is like fucked up and he's coughing up a lung at this point. But
yeah, and he's in
Hanks
French prison. The French are gonna. It's literally the French want to kill him.
yeah, but Tom Hanks is pretty much I'm your last choice. I can help you. And you can feel it from his character and the acting, but at the same time, even though he knows that the individual is wrong for what he's done, he's like, I'm your only shot, mate. Come with me. We'll fix this. Maybe you'll do time. I don't know, but look at the state you're fucking in right now. So I fucking adore that movie.
Same. It comes to that whole perspective on the idea behind it, how a well written script, well done characters, how subtext, how development, and how they're not spending all their money on kind of effects budgets.
True story.
Yeah, well, based on a true story. It's they don't spend all their money on effects and budgets. It's all more on how to tell the story. And as someone I'm a big fan of storytelling, and a lot of my movies, when I do my defending bad movies, I'm going to basically focus a lot on the stuff that tells a great story rather than the stuff that's very flashy, because I'm not an effects guy. I don't try to be.
No. See, I agree with you. A lot of the movies I buy, when I'm bored at work in my break, are low budget movies. I don't care about production. I don't care about effects.
Yeah.
As long as you start off at one point, and then move forward to the second point, and along the way just fucking educate, be yourself, entertain. Storytelling is so much better, and I think Hollywood has lost a point on this. Well, we know that that's a cliche in terms, but storytelling is the lost form of movies right now.
It's a lost art. I agree.
Everything should be, I got fucking special effects coming out my ass.
But that's the way the audience goes. It's kind of our fault, and I've pointed this out on more than one occasion. So I want to quickly say as well, I think I've only got, because the way that the shows work on schedule, Miguel, I've probably got two more Untitled.
You're English.
I've only got 2 more Untitled movie shows before I finish.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure to get your episode in next week, and then we'll do Dave's.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, the reason behind that is I'm going to be leaving the United Kingdom at the end of July, and I'm going to be I'm basically being made homeless, but I'm using it as a term, as any good creative filmmaker would do, to kind of create a documentary around that whole process and what's happening and why it's happening. And also my own kind of identity. I'm searching for myself in a sense in this whole
be very
weird
careful on
world.
Because you have to go there when you cross the pond.
For those who want to follow me, I will be still very active. Well, I'll try to be very active on my channel, youtube.com/thenerdgenius. I'm gonna basically do a kind of a final video leading up to this. So effectively, after this show, I have 2 more Untitled movie shows left, 5 more Slamcasts, 5 more I Got Gameplays, and 5 more Burhan and the Boys, till I effectively call it a career for the next 3 months. And probably could be a little bit longer depending on what happens. I need to find a place to settle, get an internet connection up and running. But, the shows will still continue, and they'll be in great hands with Miguel, Dave, and everybody else. Yeah, go on, Dave.
Oh, he's going to miss you.
I like Burhan and the Boy.
Well, it still will be Burhan and the Boy, but it will be Burhan and the Boy with special guests of Dave Wade.
It'll be Burhan and the other boy.
No, it'll just be the boy. It won't be Burhan.
It'll be someone else and the boy. But it just has to happen for now, because in the end, I'm in a very negative.
Every time someone says, I get in trouble at work for this. Every time someone says, in the end, I have to say in the Sean Connery voice, there can be only one.
But in terms of the situation, I'm in a very rock and hard place situation. I'm not going to elaborate on politics because there's no point. But it is one of those situations where I have to deal with it. If you guys want more information, go to youtube.com/thenerdgenius. There's a video posted up on there, or go to michaelburhan.com, which leads to my main Facebook page where you can look at my showreel stuff, voice reels and bits and pieces, and you can also check out like some videos and contents, and also a GoFundMe campaign where I'm trying to raise up the insurance money to make sure that I have my laptop, my bike, and also my camera insured, so that I can take them on the road with me without any issues. Otherwise,
I'm not
I'm
going
going
to
to
buy
be spending.
your stove anymore. I'm going to send you 50 quid for that.
Oh, but there you go, guys. And that's kind of it from me anyway. But when we get close to the date, we're gonna do some fun episodes. We'll do like a Michael Burhan week in a sense, where we can do some fun goodbyes, some fun stuff, and we'll do stuff like, you know, which you guys would like, and even remember some best moments.
Can we have party?
I'll be honest. I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna do the show then without you. I'm working towards that though.
Well,
we'll see.
It'll be fine. Trust me. It's because of my situation. It's kind of rushed Steven to getting the individual iTunes links sorted out. So all the shows will have their iTunes and Stitcher accounts all sorted out, where you can monitor everything yourselves. Nick is a very nice, you know, kind of dude in terms of sorting out the
Miguel,
resources.
He's got the greatest American accent I've ever heard.
And you've also got the awesome Sean Michelin, who'll be taking over as the secondary producer as well. And I'm in talks with a third person to help produce the shows. And
how much is XSplit, by the way?
Well, the XSplit account that I'm using currently, where I've actually talked to Steve about, he'll be paying for the license from here on out. So every single show host will have access to that account.
What I'm saying is, how pricey is it? Because
it's not too pricey. It's very cheap, but the thing is, I can't afford it, because when you're going to be in your bank with £0 and 0 pence, it's kind of
Europe.
Yeah.
About me to
I've
help you with your shows.
The amount of arguments that I've been having with people, like Netflix, are like, "We're sorry to see you go. What can we have? What can we do for you?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I am broke. I can't use you where I'm going. There's no point having you." Boomerang Gaming Rentals, they're like, "Hey, what can we do to, you know, we don't really want to cancel your account."
I love that about companies, which is,
yeah, we'll give you £10 back if you stay with us. And I'm like, I cannot use your service. I've already like sent your game back because I rented Dragon Age from them. And they're like, going, "Well, we haven't received it, so we can't shut down your account." I was like, regardless of what fucking happens, I'm not going to be paying for your service. So you can either shut the account down or be a douchebag. I don't really care. It's these fun things that make life worth living. And ladies and gents, you know, check me out. Make sure you check all my stuff out. I've got new videos out at the moment. I've done a huge load of videos. I'm gonna, on my channel, I have not just one but 2 YouTube of the Week videos. One that's happened at the moment is for a gentleman by the name of Ronnie Green. Check out his channel and all the links in the YouTube of the Week video. The second YouTube of the week will be announced on the 27th of June, so check out that person's YouTube of the Week video as well. And just remember, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned to the Retro Random Network as well at youtube.com/randomradio. And I will be, you know, I'll give everybody all my account informations in terms of Instagram, my personal site, and everything like that, so you guys can stay in touch and follow me on my journey, because it's going to be a fun one.
Dave Wade, where can we find you?
You can find me huddled in a church, thinking about the baby Jesus.
That's not too bad. But seriously, folks, Lone Voice Post
1975. Yep.
I had to remember the theme song for a bit.
He'll hopefully be debuting a new.
If there's one thing I've given Tinterwebs that people love, I think it's my theme tune.
It's a good theme tune.
Yeah, he'll be debuting a new theme tune, and not a new theme tune, but a new intro video, because I'm working on it currently as I do my other stuff.
Do you know what one of the really weird moments was? I don't tell. I'm not ashamed of my YouTube stuff, but when you work with people whose hobby is basically, I don't know, get into fights on Saturday night, you don't want to tell them you do this because they wouldn't appreciate, accept, or understand it. But I told a few people at work, and one bloke came up to me and just said, "I hate you, Dave." I'm like, "Why, Kevin?" He goes, "Because my youngest daughter, who's 8, and I feel bad about this, but we'll get to that in a moment, has been walking around my house singing your theme tune for 3 fucking days."
Lord Boys Post 1975.
You let her watch my channel? Because I told him about my channel, because he's like a retro guy as well. And he's like, "Yeah, I told her about your channel." and she loves it. She adores it, and like, but dude, she's 8, and I have a really big potty mouth in it. Oh, don't worry about that. We're from Bristol. But yeah, no, what a not experience for someone at work to come up to you and say, "Hey, my daughter sings your theme tune every day." Weird.
Well, it's still good.
You're a work celebrity.
Yeah, I remember when I had my first person to come up to me and like, I watch your YouTube channel. You're Michael Burhan, aren't you? Who the fuck? What?
Must be nice having a fan base.
It's okay. It's one of those things where it's a double-edged sword.
Miguel, it's uncomfortable. I'm not shafting my fans, but it's really you don't know what to do. I was in a petrol station 2 years ago, and the person behind me recognized me when I was literally paying for the fuel I put in my car, and just went, "Are you Lawn Boys Post 1975?" And I literally just finished paying for my gas or petrol, and just went, I don't know. She goes, "Oh, my brother watches you all the time on YouTube." And I just went, "Thanks," and then I ran away.
But yeah, guys, Lawn Boys Post 1975 on YouTube. Subscribe to him. He's got some great videos up on there. Some great old school gaming from across the pond, and some American stuff that you guys could probably appreciate as well. But yeah, definitely check that out. YouTube.com/LawnBoysPost. Is it the Home of Dave is also attached to it?
It's called the Home of Dave. Yep, it is. Okay, so and for those guys who don't know, the greatest thing about Dave's channel is it's a mixture of Steve Benway and Dark Side Phil, as I call it, with a mixture of gameplays, and he also does community vlogs as well. And Xander actually coined the phrase, your channel is effectively a community channel, and it's a great channel, so make sure that Xander coined it. He said that your channel is effectively a very amazing and very well-rounded and well-worked community channel.
Oh, that's nice. Now I feel slightly better about wasting my life in my
You're very engaging, Dave. It's very hard for someone to actually portray themselves as a storyteller, and I consider you a storyteller. So, that's very, very creative to be, because not many people can tell stories. It's a very rare talent that not many people can do.
Oh, I'm blushing. I would like to say one thing, by the way, people. For those of you who might try and find me right now, I just have to say, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum is the greatest gaming machine in the world ever.
And with that, let's go to Annina. Annina, where can we find you?
Well, my website is up and running, so AnninaKaski.com. And, of course, there's Twitter and Facebook, and soon a YouTube channel. I am recording something tomorrow, actually.
Can't wait. I'm actually waiting with bated breath.
I'm still trying to find the person who had shaved hair who was impersonating you.
Yeah, I want to see this bald me, but yeah, Burhan, I might ask you to edit something for me before you go.
That's fine, I can do whatever.
I know nothing about it.
I know a nothing.
I know nothing.
I know a nothing. I've been watching loads of Friends, so that's why I like Parlo.
I know how to act, not
Burhan, don't watch Friends, watch Seinfeld.
Hey, Friends is fun. When you're on I will say this to peeps, when you're on a depressive note, watch Friends. It always makes me laugh.
Yes,
Peeps,
that's true.
He's wrong. When you're in a depressive mode, watch Seinfeld.
Yeah, a guy who sits there and goes, "What's that about? I can't stop shaving my chest."
Gum would be perfection. I think that's
Sanders with me, by the way.
Oh, awesome! I read a work review with Bill Chronicle. Yeah.
I love him.
Chandler's awesome.
Chandler Phoebe. Favorites.
Yeah. But anyway.
By the way, hang on 1 second. Annina, do me sexy biscuits.
Mr. Miguel Leon, where can we find the rest of the Untitled Movie Show and stuff?
You can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/unmovieshow, and from there you can find the official link to our official YouTube channel. I haven't put up anything as of late because I've just been too damn busy. I've been working so much overtime this past month.
How dare you for having a job and a life?
Yeah,
Right.
it's unfortunate. I mean, I've been able to, come, do the show, but getting that whole back catalog up there is rough. And I've been getting involved with a lot of other little projects. You guys saw the what I put up recently, the Blade Runner pistol that I put together, right?
Yeah, it looks great.
God,
Dude, you're missing the mark. You should be doing tutorial videos on this shit.
Well, I know, and you've been getting me on that whole Doctor Who thing, which is another thing I've been getting into.
Yeah, I think audio vlogs would really help because you can break down the episodes, just do like little fast reviews, maybe something for about like 2 to 5 minutes in terms of pacing, and talk about what you like and dislike about the episodes. As long as you've got a nice little format, I think people would get engaged by it and enjoy it.
By the way, I do have to say this
because American Does Who.
And I will say this because this is based off of the last episode I just saw. My new least favorite episode is now Love and Monsters. Terrible.
Oh yeah, shit.
That made Dave drink.
That was a bad episode, but I am getting up to the Doomsday storyline, the two-parter there, so I'm looking forward to that.
All I know is, a few weeks from now, when you watch the Tennant episode, The Family Blood, I can't wait to talk to you about that because that's a two-parter that's gonna blow your fucking tits off.
Yeah, as soon as I get to the end of Tennant's run, which I believe he's got one more season left. I think he did 2 seasons, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Tennant? No, he did.
He did 3, didn't he?
It was. I gotta check real quick.
No, he did 3, but he did like 5.
Yeah, because he did what Matt Smith did. He basically didn't come back for a full season and was doing Christmas specials instead.
He was in like stage, so
he wasn't in Broadway. He was doing Shakespeare a lot. He was a very highly paid Shakespearean actor.
So he didn't come back for a full season, but he did like 5 specials that were each an hour long, and they're really, really, really good.
Yeah, because he announced it like very early on, and they were up in the air whether or not he would be coming back or not. They even
Tennant, I miss you.
They even did the film production, the film version of the Royal Shakespeare Company's Hamlet, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did 3 seasons. He did series 2, 3, and 4.
And then you get the unofficial season that's basically 5 specials.
Right. So.
Yeah. But yeah, as soon as I get at least to the end of series 3, we'll do an episode of the Untitled Movie Show where we talk.
Oh please.
Okay,
Sorry.
well let's finish things up because I am dying to go and use the men's room. So shall we?
Same here. So for myself, for Michael Burhan, for Dave Wade, and for Annina Kasky, this has been the Untitled Movie Show. Take us out, Jay.
Celebrity voices are impersonated. No celebrities were harmed in filming of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
Get away, zit face.
2 more episodes and it's bye-bye, Burhan.